Yeah, so it's Friday. It's Ryan's record. Hey, everybody. What's up, Dave? Yeah, this is a day of the week that's kind of like, there's no plan. We're just all over the place, and we just cover the rest of the news that we couldn't squeak into the show.
It really is. It's totally random.
Yeah, and the reason we do this is because, obviously, there's too many narratives in a week, and we can only cram so much into the weekly episode. So, I spoke earlier in the week.
I got to tell you, these are delicious.
What the hell are they?
They're Mr. Beast cookies.
Oh, get the hell out of here with his crooked teeth, eye-fixing ass.
It's delicious.
What flavor?
This is cookie flavor.
Cookie flavor?
Mm-hmm. Chocolate chip. I'm telling you, Mr. Beast gets it right. He's got chocolate bars that are good. Cookies are solid. I'm sorry.
You done giving the guy free advertisement campaign or no? You done?
You're good. I'm sorry.
Guy hasn't paid me a penny, and you're pushing his shit.
I'm just hungry. I haven't really eaten yet.
Yeah, because I slave drive David after 7 o'clock every week. Yeah. So I spoke earlier in the week about the egos of patriotism, and I touched a little bit on World War III. So I'm going to touch a lot more on it here.
Touch away, Ryan.
I am seeing so many things. Like before, it was kind of like, yeah, we're in World War III. Oh, we're not in World War. It was Dave. We were almost like joking.
We are in World War III for the record.
How can we not be? Like, that's why we had to joke about, it's not World War III, because we have to wait for the freaking media, right? Or I'm labeled disinformation and I can't even get my video out.
What are they actually waiting for? Are they waiting for United States boots to be on the ground?
They're waiting for Republicans to have the presidency. They are waiting for Republicans to have control. And I think Republicans are as well. Because Republicans like being labeled the war hawks.
You think they like it?
Why wouldn't you? There's no way you run. I've heard the war hawk, the right war hawk, the neocon thing for 20 years. Mm-hmm. If it bothered you, you would have changed something so that you're not constantly labeled the bad thing.
But I think they are trying to change it. Like, there's a lot of people on the right who are trying to paint people on the left as the war hawks. When the reality is, everybody in government's funded by, I don't know, what do you want to call it? There's big oil, there's big war. I know big everyone loves the phrase military industrial complex. I mean, you can call it whatever, big missile. I don't care. But it's no secret. Somebody has to be. You couldn't possibly make this many wars up if you wanted to. Like, somebody has to be incentivizing it.
That's a great question, David. I wonder if 400 military bases all over the face of the globe has anything to do with it. I'm always torn on the whole isolationist movement and being America's police. America be the police of the world. I'm always torn on this. Like, there's no good answer. You know, and obviously anything that our grandparents have left of has, even if United Nations was a good thing when it was started, it's just all fucking hand grenade.
I feel like the answer has to be somewhere in the middle, though, right? Like, you can't be a total isolationist because I don't think that works.
I think what you do is you get every nation rich, and then wars don't matter. Like, I forget where I heard, but it was like every war since the dawn of time has been about resources. People have more food or more of this, and you just happen to be strong enough, or you're willing to risk it, or you're just starving enough that. But it's like, if we give everybody a standard of living like America, like, will we even have world wars? And I mean everybody, without eating fake crickets. Like, give people, like, I had this thought. I know I'm branching. Do you know why they're making all these clothes out of plastic?
Excuse me? I didn't even know they were making clothes out of plastic.
What do you think all this if you go to the store, it's like made with I just seen shoes that were made 100% with recycled water bottles today on TV, like advertisement.
What did I say, Aquafina on the side?
It's the microplastics to lower our testosterone.
Just by wearing it on your feet?
Dude, your body is a sponge.
Well, I get it, but I mean,
the scent of it, the smell. Dude, if you sleep on a foam mattress, that foam microscopically goes in your nose when you sleep. You're not getting away from the multi-plastic at parts per million. Now, I'm not saying this has to be a grand conspiracy that freaking Klaus Schwab is saying everybody will make plastic clothing. I'm not saying that.
But he probably is.
But I guarantee you, all the rich people have all their clothes made out of real fibers and cotton, not
Egyptian
plastic
cotton,
recycled
for sure.
From papyri? Yeah. So look, we're in World War III. I'm tired of it. I've said it every week since weeks ago. Like, actually, at this point, it's almost like a month now. Like, seriously, I've been saying at least for a month that we're definitely in World War III.
Every week since weeks ago.
So I've seen a couple articles this week, and I also seen a few posts by Tim Kennedy, which I want to highlight quickly. I seen this on Friday. I think it's a political article. Why the West is getting nervous about ammunition shortages for Ukraine.
I mean, we have ammunition shortages. Just saying.
The United States has shipped Ukraine with more than 1 million 155 millimeter shells, the NATO standard artillery shells, and they just keep. I mean, I'm not going to go through this whole article, but the point: we're running out of ammunition, David. What does that mean? It means that all the stuff that they make ammunition out of is going to have to start going to make ammunition: steel, tin, iron. And what is all that stuff in, David? Canned goods and your job, and I'm an electrician, all the wire. Like, are we going to see supply chain shortages? Are we going to see things get more expensive because of the war efforts?
If I remember correctly, Barack Obama ran out of ammunition for drone strikes.
I thought he won the Nobel Peace Prize, David. How is that even possible?
He did, yeah. Because that's probably why. Because after he ran out, he couldn't do them anymore. He became much more peaceful.
So yeah, Tim Kennedy actually shared a very, very long. He had 2 different Instagram posts, and one of them he talked about. I'll just read real quick. This is Tim Kennedy YouTube. Okay, this is a military special forces Green Beret decorated.
It doesn't matter. The context doesn't matter, Ryan. If they're shutting it down, they're shutting it down.
Right.
He referenced a doctor and got shut down.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. For people who don't know Tim Kennedy, like he literally is people familiar with the matter about war. Okay, we are on the brink of World War III. On Tuesday, U.S. made a Reaper drone and 2 Russian aircrafts were flying over international waters over the Black Sea when one of the Russian jets intentionally flew in front and dumped off fuel on the unmanned aerial vehicle several times. A statement by the United States European Command said, World War III, what a concept. But it's not one that is difficult to imagine. We need to do our best to make sure that it doesn't happen. World War III could bring the destruction of mankind. I'm going on a limb and just going to say that Tim Kennedy knows more about the military than we do, David.
I would say there's a good chance.
Here it is to the egos of patriots, okay? Here it is. We as people rely on technology, and that will be the first to go. Our ability to communicate, our nation's ability to protect itself would be gone. Why? Because it will start with a cyber war. Once technology is out, planes will crash, banks will close, farmers will not be able to produce crops. Then the ugly stuff starts. The KILING is not just GUNS and bombs that kill people. People will starve. Chemical and nuclear warfare will be used. If you can imagine it, it will happen. If you cannot imagine it, someone else will. The outlook of World War III has astronomical consequences of grotesque magnitude. Those that survive will have to have the mentality of live or die. So what is the option you will choose? Be prepared, stay safe, and stay free. Tim Kennedy also had another post, and I'm going to read it. I know they're long, but these are literally the people that would come to these are the people that we send to go save us. This guy's, his whole life has been this one purpose, is to be so good at it that he can protect his family and his country.
Yeah, this is a serious dude too. For people who don't know Tim,
yeah,
he's a zero microplastic guy for sure.
He's like no low T, like
he's all T.
He's all T. He's uppercase T.
He puts the T in top G.
Literally. And here's the other one. This was yesterday, so 2 days later. We are on the brink of World War III. If you haven't fought in a war as we are existing, our country's longest time at war, shame on you for calling for it. But by no means am I saying we should not fight Russia aggression. But if you voted to fund the Ukrainian war or are flying a Ukrainian flag in your bio, the public will demand that your sons and daughters go first and fight first. Myself and all my friends spent majority of our adult lives fighting in wars. The cost is indescribable, and our nation's benefit is barely quantifiable. I have already paid the price. If you expect my kids to go fight first, you'll have to fight me on the way to get done.
What was the...
that sounds like burning draft cards. That sounds like denying your son to go to war, David, like they did in Vietnam. And if the guy who is the special forces is saying that you're gonna have to fight me to get my son to go fight in your fake war, your little bullcrap war, the thing that you started because of political reasons.
What was the thing you sent me where it was like, was it Tim Kennedy or was it an article or something where it's like, all the people with the Ukrainian profile pictures and flags and stuff, you first.
Yeah, it's Tim Kennedy. Yeah, and they're not gonna. That's like the thing, because you don't let people talk. You don't want to hear this. You think, once again, that guy, my dad's a retired. Like you just take that guy's word for it.
Isn't that stolen valor?
100%. It's stolen
in like in a light context. Like you're trying to make it seem like you're a badass because your dad was a badass.
His dad probably wasn't even a bad. He wasn't Tim Kennedy badass.
Well, you know what I mean, though. Like, dude, I don't care if your dad was in the Navy, good for him. But like, what are you doing? You can't just ride his fucking coattails,
dude. Imagine an army of David Gogginses. You know what I mean? Political article. I sent this out to my friends today. Mike, friend of the show. This was from today on Sunday. Is the United States creating a, quote, Legion of Doom? I love the DC comic book reference there with Lex Luthor. Xi Jinping and Putin are meeting.
That's weird.
This is the sub-headline. The emergent China-Russian-Iranian access may force the United States to choose between some unappealing options.
Access to excessive powers?
When did last time we heard that being used, David?
World War II.
Tell me we're not in World War III. Our media, our politicians, our president, and everybody in between, even down to your little local mayor here, your little dog catcher, the guy at the DMV, they all acting like business as usual, are all complacent in lying to the American people about where we really stand. I will not go quietly into the night about this, David. I will talk about this every time that we possibly can. Not that we're going to avert nuclear war, but it's just the premise that, like...
No, if anything, we might push us closer to nuclear war.
Yeah, they're not even telling us. They're pissing on us and not even telling us that it's, like, rain. They're not even lying about it anymore. But we're going to send our sons and daughters, right? Because my daughter has to sign up for the selective service because some women are capable of fighting in war. It's a joke.
Well, don't worry. They'll keep lowering the standards to the point all women are capable of fighting in war.
Moscow has directed a lot of virality towards the West over the past years. Russian elites are not exactly thrilled with their new partners. In my conversations with Russian academics, there's been plenty of grumbling about the mere quality of Chinese support, for example. This reflects a long-standing Russian hubris towards its eastern neighbor dating back to the days of Stalin and Mao. That's weird you're referencing the people in World War II, David, the leaders in World War II, David.
No, I'm sure it's, just coincidence.
The Russian disdain directed towards Iran is even greater. Well, if it's such a disdain, why are they linking up, David?
Because they need allies.
The friend of my... The enemy of my friend is my friend, right?
Yeah. Well, if you remember back to World War II, the Germans weren't necessarily friends with the Japanese or the Italians, and yet they partnered up.
Yeah, at least Mussolini made the trains run on time, David. Moving on here. I'm not going to beat this to a dead horse. It's just unbelievable that I have to see them not admit that we're in the middle of the beginnings of the World War.
No, you're blowing it out of proportion, right?
How often do banks collapse in America? Questions swirl after Silicon Valley Bank's signature bank failures. Patrick Bet David had great coverage on it this week, and he talked about how possibly up to 40 banks could fail next.
What was that thing Tim Kennedy was saying about banks failing?
The high-profile collapse. I wonder why this one bank was high-profile, but not the others. And Signature Bank have gained national attention on the security of the United States financial institutions. In 22 years, 500
matter. Do you think Black Lives Matter could just loan some of that money back to it wasn't Signature Bank, it was the other bank that loaned a bunch of money to them. They'll just loan the money back and then they can open up. Right?
You can't loan the money back once you spend it, David. They already spent all their money.
No.
In 22 years, 563 U.S. banks have failed. But less than 1% of FDIC insured banks have failed. Oh, that's weird when you have government guaranteed money. Daddy. Yes, baby. That's very nice. Thank you for the picture. I seen also something that oh man, what was it about the bank failure? There was something I heard a long time ago. Like by a long time ago, I mean like within a few years. But it talked about how in 2008, when all these banks did fail, what it basically happened was it took a lot of local, smaller banks and they became larger regional banks and national banks. And what it basically did was remove your local mom and pop banking. Nowadays, like that would be like a credit unions. And the best way, I don't do this personally. I mean, my bank is a regional bank. It's M&T Bank, so it's in our area. It's not a local bank, right? But those local banks lend to local businesses, right? It like if you keep your money local, it stays local more. And I just reference it because I wouldn't be surprised if we see the same downfall of 2008 here. That a lot of the banks that close are these smaller regional chains or these smaller statewide chains, and it's just a way for the top banks to just get bigger and have more leveraging power.
So in 2008, when there was the big crash, it was basically on the back of the housing bubble, right? That was the
because they gave people houses they couldn't afford, right? If rates went up, and they did.
We have a very severe bubble right now. We've talked about it in the past. It's a salary bubble. There are people making salaries and wages that quite frankly, they are not worth. And I'm telling you, there is nobody gets free money. It's going to come back and haunt people. There's going to be a massive crash, mass layoffs. It's going to come.
Well, you're wrong, David. The only people that get free money are banks.
No. They're too big to fail, though.
All right, David. I blew you up the other day about screenshots.
Yes.
So I caught them. Okay, I caught them literally paving the narrative online with proof, and I caught them citing articles in Wikipedia the day they posted them. I seen an article. It was Saturday. Or Friday, I'm sorry, Friday. It talked about how the origins of coronavirus, it is possible that it came from a raccoon dog.
Yeah, it's the damn raccoon dogs.
A raccoon dog is basically like a Asian, it's a family, it's more associated to a fox than anything else. They're kind of hideous. Okay. Now, this was like a Time magazine article or something, and then as I was reading, I naturally typed in raccoon dog because I got more infatuated by that this is a real animal than the COVID story, right?
Yeah.
And I'm scrolling through Wikipedia, and then it got to coronaviruses in Wikipedia, and I caught them
doing.
You can hear the raccoon dogs in the background.
I caught them in 5 different citations. That was just 5 out of I was in the 50s. I caught them on 5 citations the very day I seen that article about the raccoon dog. So the citations on the Wikipedia article about coronavirus, when you click the citation, they were dated for the 17th of March. When I just seen the article a couple hours earlier. Some of them were from the day before, but at night, 10 p.m. and stuff. And they were all about this raccoon dog, David. Isn't it odd when we start hearing things about the lab leak theory and they start gaining traction, all of a sudden this pivot and switch of, nope, it was in the raccoon dog. And these people had the nerve to say that they actually know the raccoon dog. They believe it was this one in this photograph on this day taken by that guy.
They know the exact one.
Yeah, that's weird. How does a scientist with a camera know, but we can't get NATO in there because China doesn't let them do an investigation?
We can't even get a real picture of the virus, but we know which dog it came from.
And here I am just asking questions, spreading disinformation, David.
Oh, don't ask questions, Ryan. We already know why.
I caught them, David, in real fucking time, padding Wikipedia. I'm probably like one out of a million people are like, I'm going to click on 10 different citations. They were all from that day. What are the
That's
chances?
weird.
What are the chances? Now, granted, this is changing information, but really? It didn't come from the dog. The military grew that in that lab and released it on the world to start World War III, to bankrupt this country, to take everything from us. I'm done acting like it didn't happen. I'm sick and tired of it. Yes.
You mean China did it? The same China that's linked arms with Russia?
And Iran, that we gave billions of dollars in the Obama administration, the largest funder of terrorism in the whole world?
Well, he funded the Muslim Brotherhood, Ryan. I think you're overreacting.
I'm overreacting, Dave. I'm just asking questions. We're in World War III. I'm tired of it. I know what they did, YouTube. I know they lied to me about it, YouTube.
World Health Organization.
I'm not thinking we're going to change the world, David. But isn't it crazy that a couple guys on our couch with a little bit of passion and a little bit of a hobby can find out what the narrative is before the mainstream admits it? And then I got to hear from intellectuals that I can't do this, that I shouldn't be allowed to do this, and I should wait for a computer robot overlord to green light my information because I can't trust it. I can't trust the computer. I can't trust the scientist or the AI scientist.
Yeah, I love follow the logic trail on that. Don't listen to this person because he's a flawed human individual. Listen to the computer that was programmed by the person who's a flawed human individual. Fucking wild.
I seen iRobot when I was like 12 years old. It has never left my head. I will never trust your machines, man. Never, ever. I took a bite out of the apple. This is the guy, we took the bite. I'm not stupid.
I gotta tell you, the peanut butter, Ryan, the peanut butter is way better.
Peanut butter is always better. It's got more protein, David.
Yeah, the peanut butter is excellent.
I can't wait for the Mr. Beast cricket candy that he's going to have to release during World War III, David, because cocoa and chocolate's so expensive.
This guy's speaking your language. No GMOs. Dude, Beast is about it. Pick you up some Beast.
Is it in a paper? Is the bag like a paper hybrid too, and it's not in a plastic?
No, dude, it's like a good quality bag. It's not even made of recycled plastics. Listen to that.
Don't listen to that billionaire. Don't listen to that billionaire YouTube guy that's got all the money in the world to do all the research and talk to all the doctors. He's just a guy that doesn't know what he's talking about.
Mr. Beast?
Yeah, Mr. Beast.
Dude, check him out. I'm telling you.
Really, really rich.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's a really good guy, actually.
Yeah, excellent guy. Makes great guy, even better snacks, you know?
I like Mr. Beast.
Yeah, that's good, honey.
Mm-hmm.
Unearthed genetic sequences from China market may point to an animal origin in COVID-19. French scientists finds previously undisclosed data from China research teams. The data does point even further to a market origin, says Christina Andersen, an evolutionary biologist at Scripps Research, who attended the meeting and is one of the scientists analyzing the new data. If so, the finding weakens the view of a vocal minority that a virology lab in Wuhan was likely the origins of SARS-CoV-2, perhaps when the coronavirus infected a lab worker who spread it further. So it's more likely that he got it from outside and brought it in the lab than the lab got it and the guy brought it outside.
Yeah.
Could be.
So, yeah.
Could be. I don't know. I'm not a doctor, YouTube.
Possibly. You know, he's in a lab working with this virus specifically. But yes, the fact that he probably got it from outside and not from inside the lab, that he worked on the very specific virus. You never know, Ryan.
But the hypothesis has been missed. As different article now, David. A different article, mind you. Cited the same day on Wikipedia. Written the same day, though. Hours apart. But the hypothesis has been missing a key piece of proof. Genetic evidence from the Wuhan seafood wholesale market in Wuhan, China. Glad I could get Google Map directions to it.
Is that the same seafood market that was selling bat sandwiches that they originally blamed for COVID?
Isn't it funny? One of the researchers is an Asian name. Makes me believe him less. Because like Mike Pompeo said that the Chinese had infiltrated every multinational corporation on Earth.
Sure.
J.K. Rowling got some heat this week.
Oh, she's always got heat.
She actually was talking about how her out speaking against trans movement and everything, and she thinks in the long run that she will be vindicated because this will not like a fad, but she's basically said history will judge us on how we viewed this issue. And I'm just going to go on record and say that the artificial intelligent robot that Sam Harris has helped create is not going to allow you to ever see that day. So I heard a story that my local schools here in high school, they have dogs and teachers have to walk kids around and they have pee pads that lay on the floor.
Yeah, I heard a similar story about a high school by me, but don't worry, Ryan. No matter what you've heard, the media has done research on this, and there's no such thing of this happening in public schools. So you don't have to worry.
Why do I'm just going to go down there one day and ask them to show me where the restroom is because I have to go to the bathroom and tell them that I identify as a dog, and they're going to have to show me. A teacher had to walk a student around while he barked. I'm sure this is just a vocal minority. It's funny that last article talked about a minority, a vocal minority, like they know that it's only 1% of people on the internet driving all the data because they do it too. They're the minority that brainwashes my neighbors against me. But you're just saying it only does it. Not only the right is the vocal minority. The left is all the people. We're the socialists. California is giving reparations to black citizens.
I kind of suspected they would already be doing that, so I'm not surprised.
California was founded.
Wasn't San Francisco already doing that?
California was founded after slavery was eradicated.
Yeah, but there's still white people there, right?
I'm so tired.
Not a lot of them,
I'm so tired.
They're still there.
I'm so tired of them guilting me based on a shade and a pigment that I have in my body. When our ancestors, the people in Western cultures, paved the entire world in the greatest ideologies that have ever been ever thought of. It took millions of people, millions of years, and millions of suffering and trials and tribulations and hard work and dedication and all these things and Christians and God to give me unalienable rights. And then I got to hear that I should be guilted for them. This literally breeds racism. I know we know this. But we have to say it because 2 + 2 = 4. And we're in the. This is why I think we're in World War III. You have to entertain the circus. You have to give the people the Roman bread, as Mike said this week to me.
The thing that worries me most about World War III, though, is that in World War II, we weren't also in the middle of a civil war.
Yeah, so viewer of the show, Joe, as always, we appreciate you. He had a thing on his Facebook today I thought was beautiful.
Was it the same thing I saw? Wait, go.
Just remember, in January, the EPA raised the acceptable level of dioxin, dioxin, dioxin to 1,000 in Ohio, and in California, it's 100. And I'm assuming that is parts per million.
Probably.
I'm sure it's just coincidence.
1,000 parts per million is kind of a lot.
Yeah, I wonder what happened in Ohio in January that would make them, like, I don't know, like the EPA reevaluate some things. Have you seen the jokes going around the internet that I still have my I still have my conspiracy balloons up for the plane or the train derailment? You know, they're like, yeah, I forget. Oh my God.
So for the thing you just read, though, for the record, that was before the train derailment.
Yeah, it's just coincidence. I'm sure BlackRock and Vanguard have nothing to do with it, David.
So just out of the blue, in the middle of January, they said, you know what? This amount of dioxin, probably 1,000 times more than the normal amount we say, it's all of the sudden okay.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then a month later, there's a train crash.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
and then all this dioxin is released into the environment, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's still acceptable, though.
Yeah.
Oh, so nothing to worry about.
Yeah.
Perfect.
I'm just scrolling through my screenshots this week, and I caught another article that was telling me if my money is safe in a bank, which makes me think my money isn't safe in a bank. My money hasn't been safe in a bank before banks collapsed.
Well, maybe we should just insure the banks for more money now. Should we do $1 million?
Well, David, I'm sure you've seen the articles that there's tons of why so many people with six-figure salaries are living paycheck to paycheck.
Oh, that's weird.
After taxes and adjusting for the cost of living, $100,000 amounts to just $35,791 in New York. I call it bullshit.
How?
If you include rent and food and you might be left with 35. I don't even know.
How is everyone going to tell me that the economy's strong, and then I got to read articles about people who are making six figures living paycheck to paycheck?
Yeah, we know what this is, David. This is nobody taught millennials how to manage their money.
That's fucking truth.
It was
That's
more.
why you need to talk to people who are 10 years older than you.
It was more exactly. You just shut up and you don't. I never would say, "Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know." That's if you talk to a young person, and be like, "You're not wrong." You ever hear that? You're not wrong. Yeah, no shit. You're a kid, bro. You don't know anything. I don't know anything.
Right, which is why someone 10 years older than me talks to me. I'm listening to them.
You know what's crazy? It's like the information I get like this, especially about the politics, is from older people. It's all from older people. That's weird. You mean the guys that seen Vietnam and were raised by the Depression era people instead of all the delicacies that we had in the 80s and 90s? I thought of something else too. You know how we're the largest population, in American history and stuff, and all the commercials are advertised towards millennials? I put it together the other day. I seen a commercial and it was two babies in an E-Trade commercial, and they were talking about cheers to being single so I can go mingle or something, and we know what that meant, right? Which is the joke. But I was watching it with my kid, and it hit me. Marketing has gone so far that the thought that the average millennial even has children, they don't even consider it an option as something they need to advertise for.
Interesting.
It's like
I never thought of it.
They can advertise us out of wanting to have children. Because the Infinity car commercials that you see with a woman sitting in an $80,000 car with her fucking $13 an hour job at Walmart. You're like, oh my God, you can do it. Infinity brings out the infinity in you. No, your children do. Family brings out your infinity. Gives you something to fight for and build. I have my whole life is surrounded by women, and I have to see them paint the picture to women that it's better for you to chase money than to chase love from your kids. But I'm the insane right winger. What good's money? They're literally deflating all the money you make is worth. I just showed you guys $100,000 a year. You get $35,000 left over. Glad you're making a lot of money. It's good you got no kids. I'd rather be broke with a family. But this is what we're up against. This is how you have to bring down America, and this is all the more reason why I think we're in World War III and a civil war like you referenced, David. Yeah, I think that was... Trump returned to Facebook, and he had a post that just said, "I'm back." Get ready, man. The Ron DeSantis stuff is just getting started.
He better get one in before he's arrested. Oh wait, no, he might already be arrested. It's Friday. I don't know. Just for everyone, we film all of these on Sunday, so if he's arrested on Tuesday, I don't know yet.
Yeah, I'll just say one other thing. That Sam Harris and Lex Fridman podcast, I will never forget that, because I just honestly, I just think most of these educated people think like this guy. It's people like Brett Weinstein that are coming out Weinstein, and he's all these things about COVID now and stuff. He was batting for it too, but then he's like, wait a minute, we got to look at it this way. He is a minority of people that is educated. They're just all falling in line, which is what all these people do during world wars. All of Hitler's men, all of his generals just said, okay, we'll keep to the Schlieffen plan or whatever it was called, that they were just going to fight a 2-war front with, the point is these people are just falling in line and taking orders. And it's horrendous. I have one quick article here I thought was pretty cool, worth referencing. 2019 Notre Dame caught fire, David. I'm sure you remember it.
Yeah.
I just read an article, and it talked about how after the fire and they were going through it, looking at everything, they actually discovered that Notre Dame is the first Gothic cathedral to be built ever. And they can tell that it was the first one ever because they found, here it is. Investigation in the cathedral's construction during its renovations found that the 860-year-old building is the first known cathedral of Gothic-style architecture that used iron to bind the stones together, when it was initially constructed. The use of iron in this manner was a huge technological advancement for the time and the discovery of detail in a study published in March 15th. So it's just one of these things. Notre Dame is synonymous with Western architecture and culture and all that stuff because it was built by many, 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 many people over different generations. It took like 100 years to make.
Is that right?
Yeah. Like the people that started Notre Dame were dead when it was finished.
Wow.
So like I show up to a job site and it's done in a couple of years at the latest. Could you imagine? And you're just telling me that these people were just told to go to the work and they didn't believe in a divine. They didn't believe in a perfection. They didn't believe in something. If you drive through the city of Buffalo and you look at all our old churches, it is the most beautiful buildings you'll ever lay eyes on. And I'm just supposed to believe that this religion is just all evil and was only used as a means of control. There's no way. It's just not possible. The beauty in this world did not come because it was forced, even though we have intellectuals that think that's the way it gets done. My Decembertainment this week. I've gone on this podcast many, many times, and I've told you guys about the great podcasters that I've been catching and the next rise of the next wave of influencers beyond Joe Rogan, because I had to graduate and I had to move on from Joe Rogan myself. Not because I hate him or anything, but just simply because I did not want to naturally fall and start to sound like him and cover the same stuff. And I wanted to stop repeating Joe Rogan. I wanted to do my own thing. So naturally, when you start like breaking off from the big ones, this was like the equivalent of when I stopped listening to Eminem, I started listening to Nas, and it's like when you put down one Titan, you pick up the other. So I've come on this podcast many, many times, and I've told you guys about Chris Williamson over at Modern Wisdom. I caught a lot of his podcasts this week, but one in particular I wanted to talk about. When was it released? It was released on March 16th of this year. 14 Shocking Lessons About Human Nature. And it's with Gerdwinder. I'm not going to try his last name. But it's episode 602. And the point of going on here is just, I'll just read a couple of the title cards because it's a long podcast. So for what it's worth. But I do encourage people to listen to this. Social media is making people less friendly. Less sincere. Instead of trying to be right, be less wrong. People are more interested in criticizing than helping. Never take information at face value. Becoming trapped in a purity spiral, right? Which means like intersectionalism and all this stuff with like gender and it's basically how like once you find an in group, you always have to put more people out of that group because you always have to keep fighting for the next in group. And as you do that, you naturally segregate the very people that helped you get that group. So a good example of that is in the LGBT community right now. If you're like a GAY white man, like, well, you're not really part of the LGBT because you're not trans and,
right. Yeah, and meanwhile, they're like, I'm the second one.
Exactly. Well, they were the first warriors, weren't they? Those were the ones that built the movement. So. Yeah, and then you hijack the movement. Some would call those conquerors, David. It isn't coordination, it's cowardice. This was the one thing in this podcast that I kind of disagreed with, and it was just basically they were trying to reiterate that a lot of people just follow orders. There isn't this grand conspiracy, which for 99% of the stuff, I agree with them. But,
yeah, there's a lot of truth to that, though.
But when I get told by Klaus Schwab that it's 2035, I'm broke, I'm homeless, I have no freedom, I'm the happiest I've ever been, I've seen the inflation, and I've been in the game long enough to know that statement is very correct, except for very particular things. You can prove certain conspiracies, and the conspiracies that you can prove, put that statement away. Like this is a plan. Like when it comes to the military, it's planned. The military will plan to lie to you so that you believe that and hit you with something else. It's called a false flag, Hegelian dialectic. The Art of War is like a 3,000-year-old book written in Asia by Shang Tzu. Like, come on. When you're weak, appear strong. When you're strong, appear weak. And that's actually something that Andrew Schultz came up with, and his thing was all about how a lot of these executive at these places, they're not trying to like make your kid LGBT. They're just listening. They think that's what people want, and that's what and like I get it, and I agree with it, but to a certain point, that only has wheels for like 95, 98% of the things we talk about on this program. I do genuinely believe most people just go along with orders, which is why I had my rant this week about patriotism. Because that very confirmation bias and this seclusion that we just put a helmet on because we know better, it affects people on all walks of life. You know, and our blind spots are in patriotism is thinking that the guns will just override everything else. Because we were always told that by the NRA. Pry it out of my cold dead hands. Well, they'll just drone strike the whole nation. So, which they can do legally. Told you guys about this. Media is now just post-journalism, and the guy actually talked about how since like I think it was from like they analyzed from like the 90s to the late 2000s, and sexism and bigotry and all these terms were like up thousands of %, and it just kind of showed how the media is now picking sides for clicks and how we're in post-journalism.
Yeah, that's just cowardice.
The majority of evil people had good intentions. Sounds like Sam Harris there. Don't take social media attacks seriously. Are people really judging us? The configuration of dominant ideologies. And that was pretty much the end of it. The point is this guy's like some kind of psychologist or something, or just very well-read and well-educated. It just highlights like we're all human and we all have biases, and we have to. That's why I like Chris, right? Because it's about modern wisdom. And a lot of the modern wisdom they give is by looking back at the past and seeing what is the best ideas, right? We know that. But the way he's been moving forward with the information that is now new, that has been built off the past. And it's just very interesting. And the times like this and stuff, it's so funny to me that that guy actually referenced just asking questions, right? It's not trying to be right, just be less wrong, ask more questions, but then I'm told it's misinformation. So, see, is that just freaking cowardice or is this compliance? What is this? Whatever. I guess that wraps it up for Dave and I this week. I appreciate you guys who made it to the end of this podcast and all the other podcasts this week. You are my December nights. I really appreciate you the most. As always, David, I appreciate you and your time. I hope everybody had a good St. Patty's Day and all that. And yeah, catch us Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Rumble, and Facebook. Dave and I will be there, and I can't wait to see you guys there. Thank you, David, as always.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Ryan. Remember, pick the up. Just there's the regular chocolate chip, then there's peanut butter. So good.
Whatever.
It's good quality non-woke snacks.
Non-woke snacks. Yeah, that guy's just out there straightening teeth and fixing eyeballs. Them rich people.
He's a modern day Jesus Christ, that Mr. Beast.
Mr. Jesus Beast. All right, I'm gone. Thank you, David. See you guys.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.